Welcome to The Explainer. So glad you're here today because we're tackling something that usually gets treated as a total afterthought, but is actually a massive game changer for any event. We're talking about seating. Yep, seating. We're going to see how the right chair setup actually impacts learning outcomes, returning what feels like boring room logistics into real strategic insights for your next event.
Seriously, have you ever considered how a single chair can absolutely ruin a multi-day training event? I know, it sounds dramatic, but just think about your own experiences for a second. Ever been stuck at a weird angle, craning your neck to see a screen for 8 hours? Or, awkwardly trying to balance a laptop on your knees? It's the worst. When we start looking at physical space as a crucial teaching tool rather than just a floor plan, everything changes. The right layout directly boosts delegate comfort, participation, and ultimately, how much they actually learn.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll look at how seating shapes those learning outcomes, break down classroom versus cabaret styles, align your layouts with specific goals, figure out the hybrid and comfort factors, and finally help you avoid the most common setup traps. Let's start the journey to becoming true learning architects.
Starting off with Section 1, how seating literally shapes learning outcomes.
So there's a direct clash here between two fundamental room design philosophies. On one side, we have the focus on presenter approach, and on the other, the focus on peers. And guys, this isn't just about where you shove the furniture. It's about how the physical geometry of the room literally dictates mental focus. The way you arrange the space silently tells your attendees exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Like, are they here to just absorb information from an expert at the front? Or are they here to brainstorm and generate ideas with the people sitting right next to them? You absolutely have to choose a side. Which brings us to Section 2, classroom versus cabaret seating explained. Let's break down our first contender, classroom seating. You know this one. Rows of tables and chairs, everyone facing the presenter or the screen. It is purpose-built for highly structured learning. This layout anchors everyone's attention strictly to the front of the room. Every person usually gets their own dedicated table space for a laptop, a workbook, maybe some coffee and water. This is absolutely your go-to setup when a facilitator is leading the session and people need laser focus on slides, software demos, or really complex written stuff. Then we have our second contender, cabaret seating. This is where you place delegates in small groups, usually around round tables. What really sets this apart is that it prioritizes peer-to-peer collaboration, but without completely sacrificing presenter visibility. It's just way more relaxed than a classroom setup. People can easily look each other in the eye, share ideas, and tackle group activities together, all while still being able to pivot in their chairs and look at the main screen when they need to. Moving right along to Section 3, aligning your layout with your actual goals. So when we look at note-taking and laptop use, classroom seating scores a definitive strong in both categories, while Cabaret is, well, merely good. I mean, imagine running a heavy software compliance training, right? Every single person needs dedicated laptop space, power outlets, and crystal clear screen visibility to follow along with a step-by-step technical briefing. The classroom setup wins flawlessly here, no contest, because it gives everyone practical working room and maintains a really focused, formal environment. But let's flip the scenario and look at interaction levels in group work. Look at how the scores completely reverse. Classroom seating offers only limited group work, whereas Cabaret is rated strong, bringing a super high interaction level. Picture hosting a really dynamic leadership retreat or a strategic planning day. You definitely don't want people just staring at the back of each other's heads all day. You want them talking. For problem solving and idea sharing, Cabaret is the undeniable champion because you want active participation, not just passive listening. All right, Section 4, navigating hybrid requirements and delegate comfort. These are the crucial X factors. You've got to consider these massive delegate experience factors. Do they have space for materials? Are there clear sightlines? What about acoustics, or just having enough room to stretch and move? Full-day training requires physical comfort. Relatable pain points, like craning your neck because you're seated poorly at a round table, or straining to hear someone because the room echoes like a cave, those things will instantly kill engagement. If sightlines are poor, the learning just drops off a cliff. It's that simple. And this need for physical comfort totally extends into the digital realm with hybrid training. Now, both setups can work, but the integration differs wildly. A hybrid classroom, relatively easy. Remote viewers are essentially just watching a presenter, kind of like a broadcast. But a hybrid cabaret, Oh, that requires meticulous planning. You need very specific camera angles and perfectly placed microphones. The goal is for a remote delegate to not just watch a room, but to actually feel like they can jump in and join the small group discussion happening at a specific physical table. Which brings us to Section 5, avoiding common setup mistakes. Don't fall into these traps. Before we get into them, I actually want to pose a question directly to you. Think about all the events you've ever attended, or maybe even planned yourself. What do you think is the single most common seating mistake people make? Go ahead, take a guess. Well, here it is. The absolute cardinal sin of event planning is choosing a layout based only on capacity. Literally, just because a room can technically fit your numbers does not mean it supports your learning objectives. Sure, you might be able to cram 50 people into a space, but if they don't have enough table space for their devices, or even room to just push their chairs back and stretch their legs, the environment becomes deeply uncomfortable and completely counterproductive to actual learning. And honestly, the list of pitfalls goes on. Let's rapid fire through a few more. Forgetting screen sightlines because nobody wants to stare at a structural pillar all day. Underestimating Wi-Fi needs, especially when every single person brings a laptop, a tablet, and a phone. Using a Cabaret setup for a laptop-heavy software training, which just leads to tangled cords and zero elbow room, and of course, ignoring hybrid meeting requirements until the literal morning of the event. We have all felt the pain of being stuck in one of these poorly planned, awkward setups, right? So how do we actually fix this? I want to empower you with a really strategic 3-step sequence. Before you book your next room, do this. Step 1, define the main learning objective. What is the actual point of the day? Step 2, determine the tech and laptop needs. And step 3, assess the required interaction levels. Are they just listening, or do they need to be talking? If you follow these 3 simple steps, you're acting as a true learning architect. You're making sure the setup serves the agenda. And to pull that vision off, you need the right space. When you're looking at venue capabilities, you really want to seek out purpose-built venues. The source material for this explainer actually highlights venues like Karsten's as a prime example, places in major business districts that focus specifically on providing these exact capabilities. You want a place that offers flexible layouts, ergonomic seating, built-in AV, hybrid readiness, and proper breakout spaces for catering and networking. Basically, you need a venue that actively supports your chosen layout rather than fighting against it. I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought. Is your room setup actually supporting your agenda, or is it just fitting your numbers? The next time you're organizing a training event, or honestly, even just attending one, take a second. Look at the chairs. Look at the tables. Ask yourself if the physical space is actually serving the learning. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.